Catherine, and welcome to the East Coast Fashion Summit. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We super appreciate your time and having this conversation with you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited that you asked me to be a part of this. I'm really appreciative of the opportunity. So yeah, really excited to chat with you.
Awesome, so good. So let's start from the beginning. So where and how did you find yourself getting into modeling and acting?
So it was actually by fluke, I'm gonna say. One evening I was walking home from work. I was in a residential area, just a couple blocks below Spring Garden Road, and just seemed a fairly casual evening. So there's a pretty busy street. A car pulls up next to me, and a guy hops out and says, "Hey." And I kind of look around thinking, is he talking to me? Is he talking to someone else? And he says, this is going to sound really strange. Of course, warning flags start kind of going up in my head. He says, "I'm looking for new hair models. And would you like to model for my company? I'm the creative director." And I thought, oh no, what is this? So I took his card. It turned out he was the creative director for Life Salon Spa. I didn't really know a lot about that company at the time, so I went home and did a lot of research, just making sure, vetting him fully to make sure that it was, a good thing, as you should. And that was my first thing that I did, and my entrance into the modeling world. So I decided to call him back, book a time to go and chat with him and learn a little bit more. And so one of the first jobs that I did was a hair photo shoot for Life Salon Spa.
So
maybe many years ago.
We don't need to tell people. They'll never
know. And that was that kind of hooked me into it. I thought, wow, this is really exciting. Not only is for the first time in my life did I have my hair dyed, but I also get to connect and showcase another artist's work and do that through a photo. And I found that really exciting and really rewarding to be able to do that and have that opportunity. And so I decided I was going to pursue it. And I started freelancing at that time. I was maybe freelancing for a year, doing a lot of background work and acting, a lot of different roles on Mr. D or some other different shows like Forensics First, I think, as well, and a few other TV shows that were coming out at the time. And about a year later, I was really trying to push myself out there. And I knew how important it was to connect with other people, models in the industry, directors, basically anybody who I could talk to, I would try and connect with at the event, at the what I was doing, and then offline as well, and try and reconnect so that they knew that I was trying to make myself memorable.
Right. For you.
It's so important that hidden network that everybody talks about, is a real thing. Yeah. I think in not just in the modeling and acting world, but in any kind of job space. I can talk about that a little bit later, but like even in the career that I'm in right now, I think it really helped me to do a lot of coffee chats, just 15-minute conversations with people, outside of that, to learn more about it and make them remember you a little more.
Chats are essential. They're essential around here. Absolutely. We like our coffee.
Yes, yeah, we do. I drank a lot of it. Still do. And so that connected me with a model who was in the city, and now she's in Toronto, actually. But she was somebody who I connected with quite a bit. We ended up doing a few jobs together, and I was telling her I was really interested in, trying to make this into a career. And she suggested that I go to Sky Talent, and that she could help me by writing me a letter of reference. And so she wrote a letter of reference for me to CL Crosby, who's the agent over there. And then I wrote a little letter and a resume myself and sent in a few photos of the very first photo shoots I'd ever done. And that was how I got signed to my first agency, which was Sky Talent. And that was in 2012. And I was really excited to have that opportunity. And then, let's see, maybe about 4 years later, I was doing a model call at Brent McComb's studio out in Bears Lake, and I was approached by Cheryl, and she asked me if I would become a part of City Models. And so 2016 was the year that I signed with City as well, and so now I'm signed to 2 agencies at the moment.
That's awesome. See, you're so looked after, you know?
Yes, it's very helpful.
What has having agency representation meant, and how has that impacted your career?
It's been really helpful to me. Agency representation is really important in the fact that, you know, you have somebody out there who is really out there selling you really as a commodity. That's really what it is. And yes. And so it was really helpful for me because I wanted at first to do a lot of acting, and then, you know, I was really interested in the idea of doing a lot more modeling as well, and so to have one person on both sides really helping me to achieve that has been great. But I've also found that although you have agency representation, it's really important to still create a brand for yourself, and then to be able to capitalize on what they're doing for you and to build on that yourself. You know, they're doing a lot of the legwork for you, but you have to do a lot of the work yourself too. And so to be able to still network and promote yourself, to maintain those levels and those connections, even though everybody else is still out there helping you do that and pushing it forward. It's kind of like doing extra paid promotion, you know, having a billboard at the same time as still being out there and connecting with other people, you know, so like I'm doubling my memorability, basically.
You, with your marketing background, you know how important the marketing of yourself is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important.
Marketing plus your model and acting, that's a good marriage, Catherine.
It takes a lot of touch points for people to really recognize you. And so having an agency, 2 agencies, I've been very lucky to have 2 agencies who wanted me and have that opportunity has been really great, like really wonderful. So yeah, just having those extra touch points has been key in, you know, solidifying and getting certain roles. So yeah, very happy.
I remember the first time I watched you at a model call, and my only thought was, is there anyone else? This is my girl for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Take up such a glorious amount of space when you enter a room. It's really, you're memorable. Trust. Oh. So, for those that don't know or that are just about to start out, can you give us an idea of what it takes for you to do? Like, do you do a lot of practice? Do you feel a lot of pressure to perform? That kind of thing?
There's definitely a lot of practice involved. I spent a lot of hours when I first started on YouTube, specifically watching Kate Moss walk on the runway. I thought, A, we're similar heights. Yeah. And I know, you know, as 5'7", it's not quite, you're just kind of right at that level. So your walk has to be really memorable. Again, I guess that's going to be my key word of the day. But I think it's a big part of it, between spending a lot of time on YouTube, trying to emulate these people's walks, and then taping myself as well. Yeah. I did a lot of performing arts as a kid, and so a lot of ballet and figure skating, and things where we were already videotaping what I was doing to see how I could improve my performance. And so I knew that was a really important aspect as well. And practicing in the mirror when you're doing a lot of modeling and just understanding, how your body feels in those positions. And Brent McCombs actually gave me a really great piece of advice a little bit later once I had the opportunity to work with him in that, taking it a step further outside of the mirror, doing it away from the mirror and then turning back to look to see if your body is still in those same positions. So understanding, if what feels like what you're doing may not actually be what you think you're doing. And so understanding I should correct this position a little bit more. And my hand should be a little higher. My chin should be a little bit lower, or yeah.
Yeah, and Brent's going to be on the summit as well. So I know he's going to drop a lot of amazing nuggets like that. That's
Absolutely
helpful information, Catherine. A lot of aspiring models are going to really enjoy everything you're saying today. It's great information already. And so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
In this modern day period where your image on social media can often cast a shadow on who you really are, if you had one chance to openly describe who you are in a minute, what would you tell people? Who is Catherine?
Okay, so I guess I'm someone who always enjoys learning. I think there's never an opportunity where I don't enjoy learning something new or understanding what I can do better. I've always considered myself, I don't know how else to describe this other than kind of considered myself like glue. I love connecting people and to either other people or to new situations or new opportunities, making people feel comfortable and connected together when they're in groups. And just, trying to make people feel happy and comfortable, not sticky though.
No, I know. That's very accurate. Whenever I've been in a room with you, you always make everyone feel great. You're always so welcoming. So that's very accurate. I'm glad you're able to recognize that that's you. Some people don't know their jewels, right?
It definitely took a while to figure it out. And then once I realized what I also do in my career, I think, I enjoy this on every level. I like being glue.
Awesome. I've never heard it described like that, but that's so perfect. And about how much of your life does this passion take up? Like the modeling, the acting, the practicing, the go-sees, it's a lot.
It is. It really is. Honestly, as much extra time as I can give it when I'm not doing work or charity or just, being with family. It's basically the percentage of my life that isn't devoted to that goes to this. Sleeping can happen at another time.
We'll get there. That's so funny. So speaking of Brent, what does it feel like when a photographer snaps a super beautiful photo of you, or you're walking in a piece that you love? What's that feeling like? Can you even describe it?
It's tough to describe. It's the only way I can really describe it, I guess, is imagine, I guess, when you're, a lot of people I think have something that they like to do on the side, like a hobby. And there's usually the reason for that is because they kind of want to escape the everyday.
Right.
And you just want a moment where you can stop thinking about everything else and just do that. And I think that is how that feels to me when I'm on the runway wearing something that I really love, or a photographer takes a really great photo of me. I've let everything else melt away and it's just me. And there's no other thoughts in my head. I'm just feeling my most confident and my most comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah, that's awesome. We all want to feel like that as much as possible.
Absolutely.
As a model and actress, have you ever found yourself facing anxiety, whether you're walking on the runway or practicing your walk? And if so, how do you kind of talk yourself through those moments?
I've definitely felt that. Still do. I think it's important. I think if you have those nerves, it means you're doing something that's important to you. And so my synchro coach actually, I think, said it best to me when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. You're going to have butterflies in your stomach, and they're going to make you feel nervous and fluttery, but it's really important to channel those into a V, make them fly together. And so to really use that energy that you've got and focus it, and just really understand that it's not there to hinder you, but to let you know that what you're doing is the right thing. And so sometimes before a show, I would do maybe like a couple jumping jacks, or just like some shoulder moves like this to help me understand, where I am, what my pace is. Take a few deep breaths, and then just go and understand that is what's making it important. I think when I stop having those nerves, I'll be a lot more scared.
Anymore.
If I ever stop having them, I think that means, it's just not as important anymore. And that's a scarier thing.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. Oh, you're so good at this.
Oh, thanks.
I know that if you would reflect on your life so far as a model and actress, what are you kind of most proud of achieving so far in that career? You have a long list, I know, but
I think a lot of the things that I'm most proud of were making connections early on. I really just jumped right into it with both feet when I started freelancing. The idea of really building connections with not only directors, but with as many models as possible. Because you really never know who's going to be able to help you further your career. And, just being able to go outside my comfort zone and do things that made me nervous. And then having those really pay off in that when I met, it was Sarah Ainsley Harrison, and she was signed to 2 agencies at the time as well. Actually, she was signed to City and to Sky Talent. And I was just 1 year into freelancing, and I thought, I'm going to start making friends with these models. They're all many years ahead of me, but what do I have to lose at this point? And so I tried to connect with her more through the jobs that we did, and then also just through Facebook and emailing. And she was the one who helped me realize that I should join Sky Talent. And if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't have all the opportunities I have now to have been in a few different movies and had some more featured roles in TV shows or in music videos. And I think that's probably what I think is my biggest achievement, is just being comfortable making connections with as many people in the industry as possible. I think we have such a small pool here. There's really no opportunity to burn bridges, it's just, you have to,
just those connections, just keep them.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep them going.
You don't want to lose them once you get them, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If you're putting yourself out there as a young adult in this world, it's pretty divided right now, and just concerning diversity and inclusion. Mm-hmm. Have you ever experienced any personal challenges or conflicts as in any kind of diversity, or even as a woman? It's rough out there.
It is. It's tough. It's definitely a bit of a scary world. I've definitely experienced a few different things that have made me feel less confident in myself.
Right.
And it's unfortunate, but I think those kinds of people, whether or not it's a prejudice, are always going to exist.
Yeah.
My dad always used to tell me that, oh, and of course he was very biased because he was my dad.
Yeah.
He'd say, people are going to there's going to be people out there who love you for your beauty, and there's also going to be people out there who hate you for it. And you can't change their minds. You just have to accept that you are you. There's just one you, and move forward and try your best to keep doing what you'd like to do. Be the change in the world you'd like to see, basically. Yeah. But yeah, it is unfortunate. There's a lot of diversity and inclusion issues happening right now, but I think it's nice that as a global community we can kind of come together and recognize that a little bit more. I think in some weird way COVID has really helped that move forward a lot faster. So yeah.
And by the way, I think your dad should be like the world father for all girls. It's beautiful. That matters at the end of the day. People can say whatever they want to you, but you don't have to believe it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just always remember who you are and rise above. I love your dad. From your experience, do you believe there is enough activism coming from the fashion industry?
Not yet.
Aren't we? It's like,
yeah. There's been a bit of social change, but not a lot. And I think like any industry, because of COVID too, it's being accelerated.
Yeah.
I was just listening to a podcast earlier today that was talking about how the film industry is really changing.
Yes.
A lot as well. And theater, like specifically movie theaters, are really going to be moving. They're really on a downward spiral in comparison. And it's because they really haven't found a need to change. Whereas, the viewing way, like the ways we can view movies now at home are so much easier, and they've really had to adapt that. So TV shows and movies like Apple, Disney Plus, coming out with all these new movies, Netflix, that has really adapted the way we go to watch movies. We don't go out anymore because it's too much money. You're paying $1,000 for popcorn, and
and when you have a whole family, like that's crazy.
It's really expensive.
Okay.
And I think that eventually the fashion industry is going to hit them in the same kind of way. The people who aren't comfortable changing are just going to kind of go away or lose a lot of money by comparison.
Blockbuster. Die.
So yeah, I think we'll see some real change in retail and fashion, and I think that this has definitely accelerated it for sure.
Absolutely, I agree. Is there anything that you personally would like to see improved?
Ooh. I'm really loving the use of real models recently. Savage Fenty just put out some really fantastic new stuff. Oh, and it's so lovely.
Yes.
Yes. And I mean, you have to think like most people, like when from a marketing perspective, for me, you want to create relatable content. Yeah. And having models who you can relate to makes so much more sense. You're going to sell more product.
We all want to see ourselves there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think for me, that's the main change I'd love to see, is just more relatable content in the fashion world.
Here. I agree. That's so paramount. Please wake up to that, fashion world.
Absolutely.
We're on it, Catherine. We're on it.
Perfect. Wonderful.
As an aspiring model and businesswoman, what advice would you give to young women, or even young men for that matter, who are struggling to find their voice? Like, for example, if you've ever been put into a situation where you were kind of uncomfortable, like how do you speak up in those moments?
I think it's always tough because there's always a couple thoughts going through your head. There's that underlying thought of, oh, you shouldn't say anything, and what's the right move, and then there's the other voice that says, yes, you should absolutely say something, this is the right moment. I always like to think about it in 3 steps. The first one, especially if you're talking about a voice and you've had like an issue in the past or present, something that you're currently dealing with, is that you're allowed to get angry at it. That's okay. You can't let it last too long, but get angry at the situation. And then the second thing is to do research on it. After you've had your moment, you've vented to a really close friend or family member, then you do research and you learn as much about both sides, or what you're thinking about doing as possible, to really understand like what you're about to do and what you'd like to do. And then the third thing is to action on it.
Yeah.
And so to not let it fester, but to really try and do something about it. But sometimes in those initial moments, it can be really scary and you don't know what to do. Now, how long that period of time is can definitely vary depending on what kind of scenario you're in, for sure.
Yeah.
But I always think, you can take a breath, think about it for a second, and then action on it.
Yeah, that's important. Great advice.
Thank you.
Everyone is listening because this is really great advice. Advice for life.
Yes. Yeah.
And what industry you're in, that's just a great piece of advice for life.
Absolutely.
And what is the one piece of advice that you got that helped you that you'd like to share with aspiring models and actresses? And the one thing you wish you would have possibly avoided?
The one piece of advice was more recent actually that I got it, but I was reading on a guy named Ray Dalio, and he was a consulting management company, but he says, how do I say this? If you can't laugh at yourself 1 year ago, have you really grown? And I loved that because there's so many different things you can do. And I think it's so important to be able to put yourself out there, but understand that mistakes aren't a bad thing. It's just a path that you took that you realize, well, maybe this isn't the right thing. That doesn't mean that you're wrong. A lot of life is just pivoting.
Yes.
And so you have to pivot in a different way. And I mean, there are many photo shoots I can look back on now and definitely facepalm and think, oh my God, I really did that. I can't believe that happened. Or auditions that I've been in and thinking, why did I do that? But understanding my feelings now and that I can say, oh, I can't believe I did that, means that I've really grown and understood more, and that learning is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Is modeling and acting a talent that you want to pursue elsewhere?
Ooh, I do love Halifax. It's pretty great. In the next 5 years, I don't know if I see myself moving too far away from here. For the time being, I love the idea of continuing the way I'm going in modeling and acting. It's been a wonderful, I don't want to call it a hobby. It's but it's been a lovely I'll call it a second career. And it's been so helpful for me in my everyday
Yeah.
work life. Just either taking my mind off of it or giving me a different way to compose myself.
Yeah.
Thinking about, how I look on camera when we do a lot of Zoom meetings now. I work remotely. So it's that kind of stuff is very important. But yeah, I think I would love to be, doing some more movies, perhaps, maybe a TV show, a couple more, commercial gigs, all that kind of stuff. It'd be great.
Do you mind? I know you work with a charity here called Youth Art Connection, and I know it's important to you. So would you mind telling us a little bit about Youth Art Connection and why it's important to you?
Sure. So Youth Art Connection is a charity that helps artists and youth under 30 years old, and it helps them where they are in their artist career. So we have several different programs that will help them further themselves as an entrepreneur. So if they wanted to use this for a social justice movement, or if they wanted to pursue their artistry as an actual career, then we can help them build those first steps forward. So learning how to create a business card and a website and a slide deck to pitch to investors. We also created a program where a lot of these alumni could leave and then have a place to connect themselves and to collaborate amongst each other and then help build each other up and talk about issues in the community as well. And it's always been really important to me because I think I would have loved that as a kid, and to really push people and motivate them to understand that it's okay to have a career in any kind of arts should be celebrated, and that it's wonderful and it can be challenging, but all careers are. And you have to put the time and effort into it. And so really try and help these youth build up that confidence and understand what those first steps can look like.
I've been at a few Youth Art Connection events, and they are fantastic, and everyone is so kind and really genuinely wanting to help each other. So I had to mention it because how great of a place it is. So
thank you. Yeah. The one of the co-founders, Ryan, he's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, we couldn't ask for someone better.
So what, let's pretend we're going to have a scenario.
Mm-hmm.
You have all of your knowledge, you get to keep that. Okay. But you lost all of your connections. You're transplanted to a new place. You don't even know how to get to the Starbucks. So what's the first thing you do to start rebuilding Catherine's career in fashion?
Okay. Well, the first thing I would do would be to build a page of all the work that I'd currently done already. Yes. I think you've got to have a good foundation before you start going out there and connecting. I would say connect immediately, but connecting would be the next step. So you build that foundation of, I've got a site I can draw people back to, and then I move forward and I start doing some research on what people in that area do in that industry, looking for groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, and just start kind of researching people too as well who might be in the industry in that area, and creeping them on LinkedIn, seeing what kinds of things they do, and then going out there and being as uncomfortable as it can be, just chatting with people in the industry as much as possible. Yeah. And, seeing what it's like in this area, making time for coffee chats. Yes. And, just trying to, connect and go to go-sees or model calls if that's a thing, but still making sure that you vet them to make sure that they are, legitimate events and by legitimate organizations, and trying to, put myself out there as much as possible, but having that base of here's what I've done in the past, my portfolio of work, and here's what I have to offer to you, because everybody always wants to know what's in it for me. So understanding what you can give to them is really important.
So smart.
Thank you.
So what is next for Catherine? I know that you're on an entrepreneurial adventure. Would you like?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. My
You.
Pardon me?
Out there.
Yes. Yeah. I basically kind of did the same thing with modeling that I did with my career now. I started taking a lot of coffee chats when I was, beginning my marketing career. And so now I am working for an international software company, and I'm doing a lot of marketing automation for them. So I'm contracted out. And yeah, it's been wonderful. I guess for people who don't know, marketing automation is, I say that like most people understand, but marketing automation is the project management of marketing software that you use to automate anything in your company. So to make everybody else's lives easier, but you need usually somebody to help you automate those bits of software and to project manage how it's going, to make sure nothing gets broken. And make sure everything is connected properly. And so, it's kind of where my glue bit comes back together. I realized I really enjoy keeping these pieces together and, making sure it all sticks. So
Never underestimate the power of connection with
yes.
people or with technology. It's very important.
It's very important. Yeah.
Well, Catherine, I want to thank you so much for doing this with us. A special thank you to Catherine Richardson for being with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined us today for the East Coast Fashion Summit. Hope everyone has a fantastic day.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Cindy. I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody got a little bit of knowledge and some takeaways from this as well. So thank you.
Guaranteed. They're going to get so much value from this, Catherine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too.